Hi, I'm Stephen Hamilton. Here's another episode on our Signal Up Productions YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be doing an update video on our GRS type SA searchlight signal and changing out a searchlight mechanism, change up some of the aspects that we're able to show on this particular signal. So we're going to get started doing that right now and showing you the ins and outs of how these signals are wired and how they operate. Let's get going. Alright, so what we're going to use first is a 1/2-inch socket. I'll take off the signal clasp there, the lock. Daniel, thank you. Daniel's going to be my little helper and hand me the tool. So 1/2-inch socket takes off the simple lock that keeps the thing closed here. Hang it up there somewhere out of the way. And then this is the wrench that loosens up that nut. And just opens up right in there. Then we've got the mechanisms exposed with the wire terminals. So let's get a closer look at that. Daniel, would you hold this for me? Alright, so here's the back side of the mechanism for the SA series GRS Searchlight signals. We can see that we're only using 4 of the terminals on the mechanism. So the 2 terminals here at the bottom in the middle are what change the aspects of the signal. So if there's no energy to these 2 terminals, then it is by default it's at rest on the center color, which is usually red. Energized at one polarity, and it pulls the mechanism one way, showing the second aspect, and then changing the polarity, reversing it with a like a toggle switch, which is what we do, alternates the current to the other direction and shows the third aspect. So that's how you get 3 aspects out of this, by having no energy for the at rest, which is usually red, and then polarity one way gives us the green, and polarity the other way gives us the yellow. Or in the case of actually this mechanism here, it's yellow, red, then lunar. That's why we're going to switch it out today with my mechanism, which shows red, yellow, green, so that we can have a couple of different aspects on our signal setup here. So I'm going to take off these. These are also 1/2-inch, so I'm going to use the same socket. I'm going to loosen up these terminals, pull the wires out of the way, and then we'll slide the mechanism out. Okay, and then you want to climb up here, or do you want to climb up here? And you climb up there. Okay, if you hold that for me, please. Alright, there's 2 latches that hold the mechanism into the housing, and that's these little latches right here to each side. And they're spring loaded, but usually if you just slide them up, they'll hold there. And then you can, probably should be better to use this for 2 hands, but it slides on this rail right up here at the top, and just slides right on out. So it's kind of heavy. Be prepared for that. Make sure your wires here at the bottom are pushed out of the way plenty, and then use both hands and gently slide the whole thing out and set it on the ground. Ooh, almost knocked mine over. There we go. Are you helping? You're a big help. Okay, I gotta slide this thing out. There we go. I'll set that on the side. Over here and another video. Alright, so there's the housing with nothing in it. So it's just you see the small circle on the top of the lens, and that's called a fan kill. And what that does is scatter a bit of the signal light angled down so that track maintainer or somebody on the ground can look up at the signal and see if it's lit and what color it is. So that's all that does, and I'll show you that when we get it reinstalled. Alright, so now that we've got the old mechanism pulled out and set to the side carefully, you don't want to break them when you do that because they're not making these anymore. Then we've got my mechanism that I'm going to put into the end of the housing here, so I'm going to get that. Well, that's a big tractor, cool. Alright, so I've got my mechanism right here. I'm going to slide that in its place there. Watch your head, Daniel. And it just slides along that top rail, so make sure you get into that top rail. Gently slide it all the way in. Lift up the hold tabs here. All the way in, and then the tabs come down to hold it in place. Alright, so then we're going to reconnect the wires as they're supposed to go there. The top two right here, closest to the center, are going to be for the light bulb, and then the bottom two in the middle are for the actual mechanism. And it's got a lot of the leftover wiring for the other contacts from when it was pulled from service. I'm not going to mess with any of them right now. All we need is just to worry about those 4 contacts. Okay, now that those are got all the wires reconnected, I'm going to have my son help me tighten them up here. So Daniel, if you want to come up here, you got your wrench, go ahead and step up here. Okay, take the wrench. Sorry. Now, see that one right there? Can you tighten that one up? Oh, other way. There you go. Pull it on there. Tighten it up. There you go. Oh, other way. There we go. Tighten. That's good. Oh, you're slipping. Okay, tighten that one. Tighten. Okay. Tighten this one. Okay. And the last one right here. We're going to tighten that one. There we go. Lovely. We're done. That's it. Here, you want to take the wrench for me? Okay. Stand right here for a second. And then we're going to tuck these wires in. Like that. Beautiful. I'm going to close this up. Okay, that'll stay there right there. And then, alright, we got all those reconnected, so I'm going to go in there and turn on the signal, and we'll set the camera out front and see what it looks like. It's going to be great. So we can see the fan kill in action there. You can see how it's pointing some of that color down for us to see that light. That's so that a maintainer, somebody on the ground that would be not in the direct angle of the main beam of the signal, could still see it. So these SA type searchlights are extremely powerful. The compound lens allows the signal to be seen for over a mile away. However, if you move a few feet out from the angle of the beam of the light, it can't be seen anymore because it's that focused to the distance. So the fan kill allows some of that light to be scattered downwards, so that a maintainer or somebody standing on the ground, remember, or otherwise a person not in the direct angle of the original beam could be able to see some of that. So that's the fan kill in action there. Now what we've got here is our control panel cabinet, so that way everything's nicely tucked away and contained. All the wiring is done nice and neat, keep it out of sight. And we've got our control panel. We've got 4 toggle switches, as you can see here. The 2 on the left side of the panel control whether the light bulb is on, off, or flashing. The ones on the right side control the mechanism. Center is red, and then either left or right changes the aspects to green, yellow, lunar, or whatever the mechanism happens to have in it. So as far as the flashing goes, if you look back on the other video and the video on this time around, you'll see that the flashing has been on the fast side. We're actually using automotive turn signals. They were cheap. They were like $4 or $5 a piece, and they make the signal blink, and that's really all we were wanting to accomplish with that. So nothing special there. The wiring's pretty straightforward. If you need a diagram, leave those in the comments down below, and I'll try and draw up a diagram for folks to look at. It's nothing real complicated. Our Pyramid's a 12 amp. It's made by Pyramid. It's 13.8 volts, so 12 volts roughly, and it powers everything just fine. So when we change the aspects, we just use the toggle switches and change them from one way back to red and then to the other. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you've got any other questions about how we've installed or maintained this signal, be sure and leave them in the comments down below, and I'll get to those as soon as I can. The signal's held up quite well for the last 2 years, so we're pretty pleased with what we've been able to do here. You can see behind me the signal and the platform. That's not original to this signal. We had another friend, one of the members of our group, had that in his pile of railroad junk, and so he donated that to us, and it makes it a lot easier to get up to the top head and work on that mechanism. You can see we've done some landscaping around here as well. We put some railroad ties down, some landscape gravel, an old railroad coupler that we salvaged from a derailment, and then we've got a switch stand and some targets over there that some other friends have donated to our project here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate all the subscriptions I can get, so if you want to just go ahead and click subscribe, click that bell, and then you can get notified on any new videos that I happen to upload. Share this video if you found it helpful, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.